Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I'm really excited about today's guest, Jesse Reing. And she dubs by the mantra turning societal norms and expectations on their head, and which is really interesting. One thing is, I'm always scouring the globe looking for entrepreneurs, people on the cutting edge doing different things. And so I bring Jessie on. She's going to talk about challenging societal expectations, false notions of success, weight of other opinions. And she's going to do it through her founder and CEO of the award-winning event and wedding planning company Events by Jesse. So that's kind of going to be the backdrop by which we talk about all these different things. And I'm happy to welcome Jesse to the show. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Like I said, I've had a previous guest in the wedding planning, and that was like one of the top videos on my YouTube channel. And what I want to do is because you have a very interesting slant on the world, and you do it against this backdrop of your company. So talk about how you got started, and we'll delve right into the conversations. I'm really excited.
Sure. So I'm actually a hospitality professional. I have an MBA in hotel management from a school, my graduate school was in Switzerland, but I'm from New York. So I like to say that I have, that New York savvy, but the fine service that we learned abroad is something that's so, so important to me. And I think it's just something that strengthens the industry in general. So I love carrying that through what I do. Service to me is the number one thing that you need to be a good anyone in the service industry, right? Whether it's a planner or customer service, you need to be able to provide service to someone and anticipate their needs. So it's something I carry along with me even as my company grows and evolves. Um, and then about 8 or 9 years ago, I started my business, and it was actually meant to be an event planning company. I'd mostly done corporate events before that, but I put an ad on a wedding website, and the world or the fates decided that I'm a wedding planner 90% of the time. So that's kind of what it's all turned into.
Yeah, I love that. And so we'll kind of dive right into it. And this is more of a personal development. And for the audience, it's going to be really interesting because the first thing we talk about is this challenging societal expectations. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they do this, they do it very well. So discuss pressures, expectations that influence people's beliefs, and using weddings as a prime example. We'll have a lot to talk about that. And then highlight the impact of external influences on creating false ideals. This is going to be a really fascinating discussion.
Yeah. So let's say you're excited, right? You have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you get engaged, you're so happy, you found the person you want to spend your life with. You go and you tell your family, and everyone's so excited, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be the best time of your life." And it's like, is it gonna be the best time of my life? I don't know. I hope so. I hope some parts feel good, but will it be? And then as you get deeper into it, for the most part, you start to see pressure on yourself because you're now planning this huge thing. You probably have never done anything like that before. You're getting all the little talking from mom and best friend and in-laws to be and all of these things. And it kind of sets you into this very stressful, tension-filled place of like, am I doing the right thing? Am I pleasing everyone? Will people be disappointed? What, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? And it sends you into a tailspin most of the time. So I'm here to say that it is normal to feel that way. I think expecting that brides are just these beautiful little fairy princesses flying in the field while they choose their photographer and taste their cakes, that is not a realistic expectation of what the situation looks like.
Like I said, I've actually had another guest on the podcast, and he talked about how to prepare for divorce. And what was interesting thing was he was talking about marriage in the context of a business transaction. And again, this goes against societal norms and ideals because we think of marriage as this like fairy tale, Disney fairy tale, live happily ever after, white picket fence, all this, which is really interesting. And basically you have a 90% chance of failure rate, and you're going to lose half of your assets. But then people get married because they're quote in love. So the next question I have is this idea of, this false notions of success, which actually ties into these things, and explore the misconception that certain events must unfold in a specific way to be considered successful, and address how this mindset applies not only to weddings, but also to, business. We see it everywhere in America. It's just, it's just talk about this.
Totally. And for listeners, everything I'm talking about, it's weddings. It all exists in weddings, but it's also a metaphor for life, right? Like all of these things that we'll chat about apply to life and business and everything that's out there. So, one of the things that people say to you is that your wedding is going to be the best day of your life. And I think that you go into it expecting that. But I love to say, I think that your wedding, if you do life right, your wedding should absolutely not be the best day of your life. You want to have the best day of your life 40 or 50 years before you die? That to me sounds crazy. And like we're, not looking forward to the other things. We as a society expect people to pair off and get married. So if you do not make that milestone, you don't get to have the best day of your life. Sorry, that's it. That's not normal, right? So I hope that your wedding is great and fun, but guess what? If it's not, it is only one day. Yes, you're spending a ton of money on that day. I'm not going to pretend that that's not a thing. It's probably the most money you'll ever spend for one day of your life, but it is only one day. So when you wake up the next morning, you're married to the person that you chose. And unlike maybe some influence from the outside of mom choosing the centerpieces and in-law choosing the main course, you chose your person. So when you wake up the next morning, you're just hanging out with the person you chose. And I hope that feels like one of the best days of your life when you realize they're yours.
And like I said, like there's so much to untangle here because there's so many layers of societal conditioning upon what you're talking about. The next thing that we talk about is this weight of others' opinions, and just talk about how the role of external voices from everybody shapes our perceptions of success, happiness, and how these opinions can lead to unnecessary stress and feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, I think that, we will definitely receive others' opinions. So the first thing we should do is set ourselves up for success and say, I'm going to be receiving this. I'm going to have to hear this. I'm going to have to listen to the people I love and care about, right? These opinions, we don't really care about the ones from the people that don't matter. We care about the ones from the people that we do want in our lives consistently for the rest of our lives. So first, to set yourself up for success, assume it's going to happen. Let's assume there's going to be conflict and all of these things so you feel more prepared as it happens. But what I love to say is why? Why do we feel this pressure? And those feelings often come from disappointment. I had a bride that was a fashionista and loved clothes. And the dress she chose, I was a little bit surprised. It did not feel like her. And so when we chatted about it privately, I said, do you love your dress? Are you so excited? And she said, I don't, but my mom does. And is that good enough for someone? I can't say across the board, no. Maybe it is good enough for some people, but we all often feel more comfortable disappointing ourselves and disappointing others. Because what happens if you disappoint someone at the extreme, right? Those like inner child feelings. What happens if you disappoint someone? They reject you. I'm here to say that I hope for the most part, your families will not reject you for making some of these life decisions. Because if you make these decisions for your wedding out of your own self-respect, if you can act with self-respect 100% of the time, those people around you will see you respecting yourself and therefore in turn respect you too. They might be disappointed, they might nag, they might complain, but it does not mean that you're losing the respect of them, and you're setting an awesome precedent for the rest of your life and saying, this is how me and my partner are making decisions for the day, no matter what our outside influences are like. Because let me tell you, the wedding, you think that that's complicated, wait until you have kids.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of these. So one of my questions is, so you have this, this kind of wedding planning, or this wedding planning company, because, basically people are preparing for this special event. And again, it has to be like this picture perfect moment in time. And how do you balance all of these ideas that we're talking about with the expectations of your clients and your customers? Because a lot of them are coming from this framework of all of this, what we're talking about is kind of this belief that, we have to be a certain way and it has to look a certain, all these things. So how do you balance those two?
It's so interesting. I remember having kind of at the beginning of my career when I had a successful business, but I would not say I had the kind of point of view that I have now. In the same way, I had a woman say to me, a bride, do I have to have a wedding party? And I said, no, why would you think that? She said, because people have wedding parties, so I have to do that. And I said, of course you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. This is your wedding day.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an epiphany for me of how we should frame the personality of the company. We're not here to tell anyone what they have to do. We're here to help you figure out what you want to do. I'm in New York. We're a tri-state area. Of course, we have people that are, more edgy and bold than maybe some other cities or small towns, of course, in the country. But that is our main piece of our framework. We call ourselves your wedding planning BFF because no one knows you better than your BFF and no one advocates for you more. So when I sit down with a couple for the first time, I don't say, what kind of flowers do you want? What kind of music do you want to dance to? I say, tell me who you guys are. What bonded you? How did you get to the point where one of you was asking the other to get married? Tell me about that because I want to infuse that into a wedding. Let's say you're getting married at the plaza. Thousands of people have gotten married at the plaza. And they had the chicken or the fish. And they had the big white roses. How do we make this wedding feel different than every other wedding at the plaza with the chicken or the fish and the big white roses? How do we infuse, let's say, Jamie and Doug into this wedding to make sure people leave saying, this could only have been theirs? That to me is the most essential part of the process. Most people can find you a great photographer, a great band. It's not that hard. But how do we make it feel like it's yours and have that translate to the guests as well to say this was a truly unique experience? And that to me is the most important part of what me and my planners do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So it's kind of like it's very personalized and tailored to the and I love this idea where I've seen people that just go to the courthouse, sign the documents, they kind of have this small party, nothing extravagant. They live happily ever after. And then I've had like colleague, he spent $2 million on his wedding and he's divorced a year later. His wife was secretly a prostitute, kind of
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of weird, just very weird things. And so I love how you, how you kind of like it's the same thing in education and just success and kind of creating your own. So one thing I love is this talk about this idea of the crucial nature of saying no and the commonality of denying oneself, and it all comes down to this idea of like perfectionism and people pleasing, and kind of talk about how you view that and expand upon that.
Yeah. So it's not just people pleasing, but it's that fear. It's that fear if I am unique, I'm going to be rejected. And how do we kind of work past that? Now, I'm not saying that you should make something so outlandish and kitschy that it feels like a sweet 16 or a kid's birthday party. But in life as well, I am a businesswoman, I'm an entrepreneur, but my hair is tinted dark blue. So like, we all have to have those things that make us us, even as we are living part of the norms, we are accepted. We're also saying, but hey, look at me. I am me. I'm only me and I'm living my true self.
Yeah.
So when it comes to planning things like this, the power of saying no is not only great, it is a really great way to say, okay, if I do want to, I listen to Jesse's podcast, I do want to be able to say I'm someone that acts with 100% self-respect 100% of the time. How do I do that? I don't even know how to start. But saying no is a really, really great way to start because saying no to someone else often means saying yes to who? To ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is really hard to do. I'm not going to tell anyone that it's not difficult.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you say no to someone, it does not mean that you are rejecting them. It means that you are living for who you are. And I bet you those people that feel shocked and hurt by that, I bet you they don't know how to say no either. I bet you they are people pleasers in turn. And isn't this a great opportunity to be an inspiration to someone in your life to show them, I'm going to say yes to me. And if you do that to you, I'm not going to be mad at you for it because we should all be, living for who we are as ourselves. Like you said, not just in weddings, but this is a life lesson. Weddings are a great way to facilitate this and to give examples, but this is a life lesson of how we do things going forward. I have a client right now whose mom is lovely but very anxious and is taking over everything. And the bride is just bad and like Eeyore, and my mom's doing this and she's doing that. And I said, well, did you tell her that you want to do something different? No, I don't want to upset her. So now the bride is going through her wedding planning process like a little Debbie Downer. And what do you think that's doing to her relationship with her partner? Do you think that that's awesome and sparkly and fun the way it was before you got engaged? Engagement's a really hard time. You're seeing a new side of people, and it's important to see that side of people. But you also want to say, okay, I'm still who I am, even with the added stressors. And I also think that, planning some time for you and your partner to regroup and find who you are, just like in regular life, as a businesswoman, I need to take a break sometimes and remind myself of who my fun, fancy free self is really, really important. Saying no is essential. Saying no will not make you feel rejected. It's going to make you feel empowered to do that, not just the wedding planning, but the other parts of your life for a more fulfilling life for you and your partner and your future family.
The more, because I just got back from South by Southwest, and they have all these like really interesting, very cutting edge ideas talking, what you're talking about, this culture of empowerment. And the more I spend time in San Francisco, Austin, New York City, you get this vibe where it's like it's okay to be you. Whereas, where I grew up in the deep South, like Houston, is kind of a little bit more conservative, and kind of being different is shunned upon, especially Asian male, in a Caucasian society, you see now. So the other question is this idea of your desire. So everybody, we all have desires and goals and aspirations, and sometimes they get quelched by parents or society, spouse. How do you build trust in desires and trust in yourself, and just kind of cultivate that trust?
So I'm going to talk about it in terms of wedding planning, but then we can talk about the bigger picture, because it's really hard to trust yourself sometimes. If someone has been rejecting your ideas your whole life and you just assume that they're bad because of that, then how can you say, actually, I have good ideas? You've been rejected for a really, really long time. So when it comes to you and your partner, I'm a big fan of not anonymous, but private question answering, splitting up, taking questions, writing them down, and then sharing them with each other. Because what happens when you discuss something together is, let's say I said to my boyfriend, when we get married, I really want to have a destination wedding in Thailand. And he wants to make me happy, but maybe he wants more people there. And maybe, Thailand sounds great, but also there's certain things that are important to him with the wedding. Maybe it's different than what I want, but to make me happy and to say, oh, that sounds fun, he might just say, great, honey, but that's not really what he wants. So to get to, what do you want? Answer privately to yourself first. That's something I really, really recommend, and then share those answers together. And in the greater spectrum of life, when you're doing something like this, to learn how to trust yourself, surround yourself with like-minded people. I know some people, it's very hard to socialize and network and do things like that, and I understand that. There's in-person opportunities, there's online opportunities if that feels more comfortable and easier, but surround yourself with like-minded people, because then you'll start to see, when you share your thoughts and ideas, people who are like you are going to enjoy the same things. And I'm not saying that these are the only people that you should share your ideas with, but it's going to start to build your confidence. So when you choose your partner as well, and you start to wedding plan, a lot of it's likely going to be on the same page because you really put a lot of thought into this person that you decided to spend your life with. So I think surrounding yourself with people who will not just agree with your desires, but empower you to make the decisions that feel right for you, because that's what they are doing, like-minded people. That is an amazing, amazing start, and it's going to build your confidence much faster than you even thought it could. But I, too, spend a lot of time in Northern California right now. My boyfriend is from there, and I'm from New York, and I don't know if you see this, but I will say that I thought New York was liberal and like be yourself. Northern California is a whole other level of that, and I love it. I find it extremely empowering, and I think that if anyone's feeling stuck in this, go spend some time in Santa Cruz or San Francisco, and you're going to come out a new person.
And I love that. Just plug yourself into environments where you feel comfortable, especially where we have all these movements such as, Me Too, Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
Stop Asian Hate, all these, the rest of the country is catching on as well. So,
Yes.
very fascinating.
But I want to say one thing. I actually think that you should step out of your comfort zone, not stay comfortable. You should step out of your comfort zone to find comfort.
Mm.
Everyone thinks they have to stay in their comfort zone to find comfort, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
To find who you should be around is often feels uncomfortable at first. And then you're going to be like, oh, I can exhale now.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I went to Austin, I'm like, you have a lot of interesting characters and it's just kind of very different and a different vibe and different culture. And then you realize that that's the culture and people don't judge it. They just accept it. Which I love. How can people contact you and check out the work, check out your services and reach out to you?
Sure. So please check out our website, eventsbyjesse.com. Jesse is spelled Jesse. And our Instagram as well. Our Instagram is full of fun stuff, whether you're planning a wedding or not. So, of course, we have some wedding stuff in there, but we have some amusing stuff as well as mental health focused little tidbits for you. We also, if you are an engaged woman, we have a mental health women's circle that we do over Zoom. So you will learn that you are actually normal for feeling stressed, for feeling anxiety, whether it's family or body image or financial. Come join our community. It's truly a community of people for you to then talk to, step out of your comfort zone and find a place to be comfortable, right? This is exactly what it is for engaged women for us. Yeah, and if you go on the website, if you ever want to chat with me, DM me on Insta or fill out a form on the website and I will respond directly.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank Jesse for coming on. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Very powerful and hopefully it resonates with the rest of the audience. Be sure to give her a like and follow on all of her socials. Check out her wedding planning company if you're interested. And all those links will be in the show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you, Christopher. This is great.